Good. I'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for attending today's meeting about Canvas and quizzes and exams within Canvas. Today's session, along with other training sessions this week, are being recorded, and you'll have the option of viewing it again later. Please, of course, make sure your microphone is muted at this time, and please use the chat feature located at the bottom. Send your questions. We'll compile those questions, and the presenter, Hongfu, will answer those at the end of the session. I want to start today's session by sharing some information, and I'm going to put those in the chat boxes a couple of times, both at the beginning and at the end. Not everyone is able to see those, and if they come in later, so we'll post those a couple times. Those are going to be the Keep Teaching site and the Global Campus Instructional Designers team email, along with the ITS help desk email and phone number, and again, the Keep Teaching website. Again, we'll use the chat feature today, and we'll get as many questions as we can answered, and we'll get started. Hongfu, I'll take it over.
Alrighty, so let me share the screen real quick. I'm going to make the assumption that some of you may have never used quizzes before, so I will start from the very beginning. Quizzes can be created by going to quizzes and plus quiz. If you have experience with the old K-State Online, it was essentially the equivalent of online assignments. In that, it's basically go online, multiple choice, short answer, things that people answer online and are graded mostly automatically. I have a pre-made quiz going. Give me one sec, I just got it. All right, I think we're good. So this is the main setting page of quizzes. This is the quiz title. Laura, I don't know why I got this email. Can you check if there's anybody in the waiting room? I don't understand why there would be, but can you check?
I will check.
The large box is quiz instructions. You would say something like, hey, this quiz takes 60 minutes. It's how many questions? This is also a good place to paste your academic honesty stuff about, hey, don't cheat or else there will be consequences things, but better worded. There are 4 quiz types. Graded quiz are quizzes that are graded, that goes into the gradebook. Practice quiz are quizzes that does not go into the gradebook. Graded survey are participation points. You do the survey, you get points. Ungraded surveys are surveys that do not go into the gradebook. We will stick with graded quiz today. Shuffle answers will shuffle all the, in a multiple choice question, they shuffle all the answers around. So you do not want to check this box if you have answers such as both A and B, because A wouldn't be A anymore, most likely. But if you don't have those, it's a good idea to mix things up a little bit and make cheating a little bit harder for distance students. Time limit is the time limit they have to take the quiz once they started. Keep in mind that the due dates overrides the time limit. So if the time limit is 60 minutes and they start the quiz 5 minutes before it is due, they have 5 minutes. Allow multiple attempts will allow students by default to take unlimited amount of time, but you can check this box and then you can allow them to take it twice or whatever. The quiz score to keep is either highest, latest, or average. This checkbox is fairly important, and I would recommend you unchecking this checkbox until everybody has done the quiz. What this top checkbox does is it will show the student what they've answered and whether or not they've gotten that question correct or incorrect. So assuming most people do pretty well, they will at least know which multiple choice questions they got correct, and they might be able to share those status. This checkbox let students see the correct answer in case they get questions wrong. But in general, if you have a fairly wide window for students to take a quiz, I would recommend just unchecking this box until everybody has taken it, then come back and check this box and check this box and let them see their responses. Show one question at a time does what it says. It shows one question at a time with a previous and next button. Whereas the default is it shows all the questions and you can freely scroll up and down. Showing one question at a time also deter collaboration a little bit. We will talk about how to shuffle questions later. Assuming you have a 50 question quiz and it's shuffled and it only shows one question at a time, the chances are fairly low that people can find the same question very quickly. Quiz restriction, require an access code is just a password. You can enter a password and they will not be able to take a quiz unless they input that password. Filter IP address is probably not that useful for our purpose, but you can filter it so that only people on specific public IP addresses can take it. If you haven't taught in Canvas before, this assign to box is everywhere for things that has point values. By default, it is assigned to everyone. The available from date is after this date and time you can take this quiz. Due date is a soft cutoff where you are supposed to do it before the due date. Until date is a hard cutoff. After this date, you cannot take this quiz without some kind of exception. If student does the quiz between the due date and the until date, they will be graded normally, but they will be marked as late and they show up as red on the gradebook, and then you can lower their score according to whatever your publicized grading policy is. You can have multiple assigned to boxes by going to add on the bottom. Let's say Peter here needs a due date that is available from and due date that is a little bit after everyone else because he had some kind of difficulty and wouldn't be able to take online quiz. You can have a specific available from due date and end date specifically for one person or multiple person. Multiple people can go into this box. A common mistake I see instructor, even experienced instructor in Canvas do is when they need to make an exception for one particular student, instead of adding another box to assign to, they just remove everyone and then assign it to that particular person. What will happen when you do this is this quiz is now only assigned to this one person, and everybody's grade will temporarily disappear until you hit add and then everyone else. So it is assigned to everyone. For this scenario, we'll just leave this open for now. There are about a dozen question types, but we'll go over most of the common one. We will bring up a preview to see how it shows up for the students as well. Multiple choice is the most straightforward quiz question types. If you go to the question tab and you want to create a new question, it is at the bottom. It's the plus new question button lets you create a new question. Multiple choice is the most straightforward one. This is the question prompt is in this big box, and the possible answers can be typed into the boxes below, and you can add additional possible answers as well. You can change by default, the first answer is selected as the correct answer. If you want to change that, and you generally do, because you don't always want the first answer to be the correct answer, you just mouse over the correct answer, and then you hit that arrow to the left of possible answer. There are speech bubbles underneath each possible answer for multiple choice questions. This is where you can provide hints on why student congratulate the student or provide hints on why the student got a particular question wrong. This might be helpful because we're having less face-to-face feedback. You can provide some kind of feedback for why people are doing things wrong. From the student side, it just show up like what you would expect the multiple choice question to show up. True false questions are just like multiple choice questions, except it only has two possible answers, true and false, and you toggle the correct answer the same way you toggle multiple choice questions. Point value is on the top right, and that is consistent in all the quiz questions. Fill in the blank is you provide a prompt, and then you type in the possible answers, all the acceptable spelling of the correct answers underneath. They don't see this. All they see is text box, and as long as what they entered matches exactly what you type here, they get a point automatically. The possible answer is not case sensitive, so I would not do this if you're in biology and you need to do like alleles or anything that's case sensitive. But yeah, if there are multiple ways of spelling the correct answer, input as many as possible so you don't have to come back and manually grade them. Fill in multiple blank works similarly to fill in the blank, except you need to specify where a blank is. And you specify where a blank is by giving the blank a name and then putting brackets around it. So I call this bracket is called 1993 MLB, and the second bracket is called the golden goal. And you can specify what each blank's correct answer is using this drop-down menu. And this is where you can see some people would spell a ball player differently, and it is technically still the correct answer. Same thing with the other choices. Not case sensitive, again, as long as they spelled it exactly this way, they get the credit. And it shows up like this. You can theoretically move the box earlier into the question as well. It will go where you put the bracket. Multiple answers. Multiple answers are just like multiple choice questions, except you can select multiple correct answers. So instead of a circle radial dial, they have a check. I apologize. You get a checkbox and you can check multiple boxes. Again, the comments are there for a lot of questions, so I'm not going to repeat myself. It is helpful for telling students why they got a certain question wrong. Multiple drop-down works like a combination of filling the blank and multiple choice. It is similar in how you do multiple filling the blank, in that you determine where the drop-down is by putting it in a bracket and give it a name. And on the bottom, you can add possible answers and then specify a correct answer. So to the student, it looks like something like this. It's matching question. Matching question, put all of the you provide the prompt on the left side, and then you provide what it needs to be matched to on the right side. You can also provide additional possibilities that goes into the right side, so as to make the question harder. You can have 7 possible choices to match up to 5 possible prompts. So it just shows up like drop-down menu, and the student select whoever is the correct answer that match up to the left. There is a question type called text, no question. It is useful if you want to have some prompt or a short description. If you have different questions types, you can say the following 10 questions are true false questions and they're worth 2 points each. It's just a string of text that the student can read and not really interact with. Essay question is pretty straightforward. You give them a prompt and they have this giant text box where they can write an essay. Essay question. All the previous question types are automatically grading for the most part. But essay question will clearly need to be graded manually because computers aren't able to parse that. At least Canvas can't yet. File upload question, you create a prompt and the student can upload one single file. They cannot select multiple files. They can theoretically put the files inside a zip file and then upload that, but to the student, it will look like a prompt, and then they can click on choose a file to select a local file to upload, and then you need to manually grade that. For those of you with speed grader experiences with markup tools in PDF or Word document, the markup tool is not available for file upload questions in quizzes. Those are available in assignments only. And I think if you are interested in having student upload papers that you can mark up and comments, I think Ben's gonna talk about tomorrow in his assignments session. That's not in the scope of this. One of the earlier I talked about shuffling questions. There is no shuffle question built into Canvas quizzes, but you can shuffle questions by having questions inside of a question group. The caveat here is that everything within the question group needs to be the same point value. You can create a question group by scrolling down to the bottom and create a new question group. You can have multiple question group within the same quiz. You can, for example, have 30 multiple choice questions first, and then 10 true false questions next. It just asks you to name the question group, and it asks you how many questions you want to pick. I think I have 7 questions here. We'll say 5. How long did my internet cut out?
Not for very long. I don't think you were talking about creating a question group and having 5 in that question group.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Yeah, every question inside a single question group needs to be worth the same amount of points. You can have more.
Hongfu, we do need you to share your screen again. That did cut out.
Oh yeah, my bad. Thank you. You can have more questions in the question group than it's picking. If possible, that's what I would actually recommend. If you are picking 30 questions, maybe have 50 questions available. It will randomly pick 30 out of the 50 questions, and everybody will get a randomized group of questions. Right now, I just created this question group. It's picking 5 questions, 2 points per question, but right now it says this question group is set to pick more questions than it's available. That's because there is no questions in this question group now. You can move questions into question group by going to the 8 dots to the left of a particular question and then drag and drop into this question group. And it will just randomly pick 5 questions from within the group. Let's see what's next. Some of your students might need accessibility more time than other students. I need to make this quiz a timed quiz first. We'll say everybody is allowed 30 minutes. If you need to, if for some reason one of your students need twice the time or 10 more minutes than everybody else, you can go to moderate this quiz before they take the quiz. Select them on this menu on the left, click change extension, and you can give them extra attempts versus everyone else, and you can give them extra time on every attempt versus everyone else. Manually unlock the quiz for the next attempt would need to be checked if the quiz is past due time or if they did the quiz on accident and they are out of attempts left. So let's say Peter here has taken the quiz, has opened the quiz and then submitted immediately on accident, and he's emailing you and you are deciding to give him another take. What you can do is just click the pen to the right, give them 1 extra take, and then hit manually unlock, and they should be able to refresh the page and go back and take the quiz. Let's go back to the question type. A lot of the question types can be are automatically graded, but if you did make a mistake on a multiple choice question, let's say this is the question, what's the first track of Led Zeppelin 3, and one of your students is arguing that the first track of side 2 is also technically the first track of the album. After everybody has submitted their quiz, you can come back and change the correct answer, and you will see a pop-up. You will see this pop-up window, and you can choose to award points for both the currently selected correct answer and the previously selected correct answer. Only award point for the currently selected correct answer that you changed to. Give everyone full credit for this question, and update question without regrading. This option is only available for 3 question types, and there are multiple choice, true, false, and multiple answers. Double checking myself. Yep, those 3. Everything else, if you, for example, if for fill in the blank, you didn't type in one of the possible correct answers, and student has started taking the quiz, you will need to go in and manually correct the score. There's no automatic retroactive grading going on there. Inside quiz questions, you can input, you can attach embed images. I would recommend you uploading the images to files well beforehand before you go and attach it. And I would recommend that you create a folder specifically called exam picture or whatever you want to call it, and set its permission to only available to student with link. That means when students go to files, they do not see that folder as existing, but if it's attached inside of a quiz, they will have enough permission to see the picture. Canvas permission works in a way that if anyone in a chain is broken, they cannot see the picture. So for example, if I set this doc folder to unpublish, yet everything underneath is published, and you link one of those pictures in a quiz, they cannot see it because they don't have access to see the doc folder, and they can't see anything underneath. So it's just much easier to create a folder, set it to only available to student with link, and then upload quiz files underneath that folder. Make sure they are either published or only available to student with link as well. If they're unpublished, they're also not available to students. You attach pictures to a quiz by just finding a question and then using the embed image option, and you go to Canvas, course files, and you find the picture. Wait, no. You select the file and then you hit update. Attached file can be resized. You just highlight it and then you can drag it down to size and it will fit. One last thing, Canvas quizzes work in, it does not work retroactively. So if a student has started taking a Canvas quiz and you edit one of the questions, that student will get the version of Canvas quiz at the time they started the quiz. So all the future edits will only affect students that takes the quiz after you start editing and saving the quiz. I think that's all I have for Canvas quizzes. I see a lot of questions, so I will take some questions.
I was curious about if within an exam you can have multiple question groups, I guess.
Oh yeah, you can have as many question group as you want, as long as they all have enough questions to pick from. They will not be, the groups will not be shuffled. So the first group will always have its all of its question go before the second group and so on and so forth. But you can have as many groups as you want.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, that's a great point, Dan. If you have a group of questions that are all worth 1 point, you feel like they're all equivalent, you could definitely make that a question group. Then if you have another group of questions that are more 5 points, 10 points, you could shuffle that group. But then they would get the right number of questions you want of each of the point values.
Yeah, I'm thinking, not that it matters too much, but I'm thinking more on the line of content. I want so many questions on the PPF, and I want so many questions on supply and demand, and so on and so forth. So that's
a great, yeah, that's a great way to do it too, definitely.
So is there any other questions? Oh,
yeah, so
looks like one from Kevin Donnelly. Is there unlimited space to store image files?
Not unlimited, but it's course storage per course is 5 gig. It's only it's not going to be limited by pictures. It's videos and large computer files that might use up all 5 gig. 5 gig is thousands of pictures.
Did that answer your question, Kevin?
I had a couple of questions as well. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you make the quiz the way you can on assignments not contribute towards the overall grade? And I try to do that with doing a practice quiz, but it doesn't seem like it shows up the same way for the students when I did the preview.
Yeah, it doesn't. I have. What do you want? What do you need the student to see as far as a quiz goes? Like what they answered and what they got correctly?
Yeah, and I just want them to be able to click in a specific place because I'm going to have multiple, but it's not going to be worth. I don't want it to count towards the overall grade.
This is going to go into a gradebook thing. Two ways of handling it that I've seen people handle it is people have set it to a normal quiz for 2 weeks after people has taken it, and then afterwards they just set it to practice quiz. They say you have 2 weeks to review it. Another way is if you have a very straightforward gradebook where all the points adds up together, you can create 2 assignment groups, one called assignment and then the other called the worth 0% or something. And then you can go to assignment group weight, and you can make one of the group worth 100% of the course grade and the other group worth 0%, and you can put all the quizzes that you don't want to count towards final grade into that group that's worth 0%.
Okay. Could you show me one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just. So right now there's 2 assignment group with one assignment each. You go to assignment group weight, you check this box. I'm gonna make assignments worth 100% of the course grade. And when you go into gradebook, you can give this person 5 out of 100. Doesn't really affect their final grade. Doesn't affect the total column at all.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Looks like we have a question, Hongfu. Which is better to use when checking the quiz items, the check accessibility, or you do it?
That is not a question I know too well. I think you do it might be the way to go. I think Deborah is supposed to have a talk about accessibility today. I would check the video of that session. I know both have some limitations, but both also check a lot. I would check that and then see if that session answers your question. Sorry.
So I'll jump in here a little bit, Azia. It's kind of challenging either way because check accessibility is only available on that toolbar. You'd have to do it question by question. It'd be checking the accessibility of each question individually. So you could try it and you do it and see how it picks up. But really what's most important for you to check on those quiz items is whether or not your images have alt text that adequately explains what's in the question itself. The structure of Canvas quizzes, all of the different choices of questions should all be accessible. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Laura. We have a question on SpeedGrader. Does SpeedGrader work for the longer essay answers? Sorry.
Don't have it. Let me see. Hold on. We will do this. We will do the quiz real quick. Sorry for. Yeah, I think that's enough. Why not? You can go to SpeedGrader and it just shows up as a flat paragraph, I believe. Yeah, it just shows up like this. And then if this is too hard to read, you can theoretically just copy and paste it into Word for easier reading. There's no markup tool. The only grading is done through giving them points here and then additional comments down here. Does that answer your question? All right.
Thank you, Hongfu.
Is there a character limit? Not that I'm aware of. I have pasted large Wikipedia entries in it multiple times, and I have not hit that limit yet. Doesn't mean there isn't one, but it's pretty large.
Any suggestions for taking the exams for the last section?
That
Oh.
like that depends on what kind of questions you need to ask, and I'm not really like what kind of question would you be asking, I guess.
Like maybe multiple choice or maybe filling the blanks or multiple
Yeah.
drop downs.
Yeah.
So for the last section, like I mean to say, like they should be given like 1 or 2 days to take the exam, or the examity option should be used.
Yeah, if you have
Any suggestion regarding that?
so for lab ones, I think
For the last section, if the class is of 150 students or 200 students, then how to conduct the exams online?
then I would probably shorten the span that it is available.
Okay.
Make it timed so people can collaborate as much.
Okay.
Yeah, timed. The things you can do, make it timed, make it show one question at a time, make enough questions where people are getting different questions, and shuffle questions, shuffle answers if possible.
Okay. Okay, because the examity option may not be good, because I think the examity is already overloaded. So I don't know how much support the examity will give to conduct the exams for maybe 150 students. So that might be.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Right now, Examity is pretty overloaded, so we're trying to steer away from that as much as possible.
Okay.
Not to mention, trying to get new students signed up with that is quite a process. And getting the new exam information to Examity is quite a process. So if you have a very, very strong reason, I would encourage you to keep that in mind and give us a little bit more time to work on it. But if at all possible, to find ways to implement without using proctoring is the direction we're suggesting everyone go.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Did you see the question, Hongfu, about from Slava?
Yeah, I guess if you can work with foregoing the automatic grading part of the multiple choice, you can just ask the multiple choice question in an essay as part of the essay question and just have them clearly indicated on top, and then manually give them points, since you have to grade the essay question anyway. The downside here is you have to manually grade those questions. The upside is you can have what you want, I think.
Okay.
Once they start, they can switch to another browser window. There is a lockdown browser, but I don't know where we are campus-wide with the lockdown browser. So waiting to hear from some others on where we are with that.
Did you see the one from Dan on?
Yeah, I'm working down the list. On multiple filling the blank with 3 answers, you set it for the point total for the whole question, and it will divide. If there's 2 blanks, it'll be, each one will be worth half the points. Is there any way to have extra credit quizzes? So extra credit quizzes is actually one of the bit of sore point that there is a new quiz engine coming next year, I think, that actually address it. This quiz engine, extra credit quizzes are kind of difficult. What I generally have people do is make the extra credit questions an entirely different quiz, and then you should be able to just create an assignment worth 0 points, and then give students what they got on the extra credit quiz. It's tedious, but that's what we have to do for now.
I think that's a good answer, Hongfu.
If I give extra credit and make them, yeah, or you can do a gradebook export and import if you're familiar with Excel. That also work, and you have a bigger class. Anything else? Ron, you want to read the
I'm not
outgoing?
seeing anything else.
All right.
So, yeah.
You want to read the outro?
Yes. Thank you for attending today's training. I hope you found it helpful. Please remember that we're going to have all the sessions recorded, and I'll post the chat links here in just a second again for those that came in later. And just remember to, if you have questions, to reach out. And thank you very much, Hongfu.
Thank you all. Have a good one.